Good morning, children. Today we are going to learn about force and energy. Now, what is force? In our everyday life, we perform certain actions which involve push and pull. For example, to kick the ball or to play a tug of war, people use certain force. A force is a push or pull that causes an object to move faster or slower, stop, change direction, or change the size. So without force, we can do nothing. We need force to do work. We push or we pull things by applying force. Now let us see what are the effects of force. Force can make a stationary object move. It can make the moving object speed up. It can even change the direction of the object or slow down the motion of the object. It can even stop the object or it can change the shape of the object. See here, in the first case, you can see a man. He is using force and moving the lawnmower. The second, the cycle rider, he is pedaling the cycle faster. He is applying force and making the cycle move faster. In third case, the football player, he is using certain force to change the direction of the football. Now the last one, the baker's man, he is using force to change the shape of the dough. Now let us see what are the different types of force. In this chapter, we are going to learn about gravitational force, magnetic force, electrostatic force, mechanical force, buoyant force, and frictional force. Now let us see what is the gravitational force. Now do you know what is meant by gravity? Yes, gravity is the force that pulls the object downwards towards the center of the earth. Now, gravitational force is a force that earth exerts on the objects. Okay, if you throw a ball in the sky, it returns back to the earth. This is because of the gravitational pull. Next, we are going to see about the magnetic force. Now, magnets have got two poles, that is the north pole and the south pole. Now, when you bring two magnets with same poles, like poles, they repel. Whereas when you bring together two different poles, that is north pole and south pole, there will be attraction. Now, these repulsions and attractions of the magnetic poles causes things to attract and repel. And it is applying force on the objects. Such type of force is called the magnetic force. Next, we are going to see about the electrostatic force. Now, what is an electrostatic force? Now, when you rub certain things, they get charged and they attract the lighter objects. Okay? Here is a simple experiment which demonstrates the electrostatic force. Now, a balloon is blown and then when it is rubbed to a paper, the balloon gets charged. After that, when you bring tiny bits of paper near to the balloon, they get attracted. So, such type of force which is shown by an object on getting charged is called electrostatic force. Here in this case, the comb is attracting the bits of paper when it is rubbed to a cloth. The comb is getting charged. Such magnetic force is called electrostatic force. The next we are going to see about the mechanical force. Now what is a mechanical force? This is a force in which we come in contact with the object. Okay? where we physically touch the object. For example, when you open a door, your hands push the door or we pull the door. So in this case, we are coming in contact, physical contact with the object. Such a force is called the mechanical force. It can be used to bend, break or compress things. Next, we are going to see about the buoyant force. Now, buoyant force is observed when the fluids exert the force. See in this experiment, a wooden block is dropped into the fluid. Now, when this body is immersed into the fluid exerts certain upward pressure. Okay, the upward force will be equal to the weight of the fluid that is displaced by this wooden block. This force is called the buoyant force. See here. Now the things are put in water. Some they float, whereas some they sink. This arrow which is indicating upwards is called the buoyant force, which is exerted by the water on this object. Now next we are going to see about the frictional force. What is frictional force? Frictional force or friction is a force that tries to stop the movement of the objects across the surface. Now frictional force is a force that is exerted by two surfaces when they come in contact with each other. Here in this picture, you can find a lorry is moving on the road. Now the tires of the lorry are in contact with the surface of the road. Now there is a frictional force in between them. This helps to stop the lorry or to slow down the movement of the lorry. So frictional force helps to move down the objects or stop the objects. Now let us see what are the advantages of friction. Now the frictional force helps to move the cars, move the vehicles. Okay, it helps us to walk on the floor. It enables us to hold things. It also helps us to move without slipping. Now the friction on the smooth surface is less compared to the friction on the rough surface. When there is less friction, we can move the objects easily. When there is more friction, the objects have to be pushed with more effort. Now, the advantages of friction are, it helps us in walking conveniently. It saves us from slipping. It helps us in writing a piece of paper. It helps in eating and drinking. Lightening a matchstick by rubbing. Nails and screws join the two surfaces due to friction. We cannot climb a tree if there is no friction. The trains run on the rails because of friction. So we'll see what are the disadvantages of friction. Now friction causes the objects to move slow, or it can even stop the motion of the object. Friction also produces heat, causing wastage of energy in the machines. Friction causes wear and tear as the parts because of moving parts in the machinery, the soles of the shoes, etc. Here is a simple experiment which shows how the rough surface and the smooth surface affect the movement of the car. For this experiment, we need a toy car, several books, a small towel. First, we have to arrange the books as shown in the figure A. Then, we push the toy car down the slope and observe how it moves. Now, in figure B, the towel over the slope, we have to place a towel over the slope, and again we push the car down the towel covered slope. Now we shall observe what happens. Now the toy car runs easily in the first case. But in the second case, when we have put a towel on the surface of the book, The movement across the surface becomes difficult for the toy car. So with this, we can understand that movement across smooth surfaces is easier and as it produces less friction. Whereas the surface, the second case in figure B, as we have put a towel on the book, the surface is become rough and it was difficult for the car to move.